Hello again, Gary Stearman. It is March 23rd, time for another update from Prophecy in the News. And the first thing I'd like to do is to thank those of you who have contributed to the recently announced JR Church Studio Fund. As you know, we recently announced that we have come to the end of the life of the cameras that are in this studio, and we are raising money to buy 3 new cameras and the equipment to hook them up, and we really appreciate your help. For your gift of $100 to the Studio Fund, we'll send you either the JR Church video collection, 12 DVDs of JR Church's highlight messages, or your choice, the Tim LaHaye Prophecy Bible. So when you send your gift of $100 to the JR Church Studio Fund, we'd be glad to send you your choice of either one of those. But I want to thank those of you who have already contributed. It really means a lot to us. Next, I want to make an announcement. You've probably heard of Messianic Rabbi Jonathan Cahn, who has written the book The Harbinger. It's on the New York Times bestseller list. Well, we're going to have Jonathan Cahn in Oklahoma City next Tuesday, the 27th, as a guest of Prophecy in the News. We are going to be interviewing him and letting him explain his message to you, but also on the evening of the 27th at 7 o'clock in the sanctuary of Our Lord's Community Church, we have set up a question and answer period from 7 to 8:30, so you can meet, talk to Jonathan Cahn. You can ask him questions, and it should be a good time. Again, that's the 27th of March, Tuesday evening, 7 p.m. in the sanctuary of Our Lord's Community Church here in Oklahoma City. Again, that's from 7 to 8:30. The address there at Our Lord's Community Church is 11400 North Portland Avenue, very close to the Hefner Parkway and the Hefner exit. For those of you who are regulars driving around Oklahoma City, Tuesday evening, 7 o'clock, Our Lord's Community Church. Well, let's take a look at the news. There are a couple of items here that I wanted to share with you. Assad, that's Bashar Assad, who is the dictator of Syria, has announced that he has missiles primed and ready to go to preempt any military intervention from any country that forwards aid to the uprising against his administration. Reading from Debka File, the Middle East has unknowingly been living for 10 days under the threat of a regional war, which Debka File's military sources disclosed was delivered by Syrian President Bashar Assad to United Nations Arab League peace envoy Kofi Annan when they first met Saturday, March the 10th. Assad warned him in no uncertain terms that Syria was ready to unleash its missiles against any country preparing for military intervention in Syria before they moved. While not mentioning them by name, the Syrian ruler was referring to Britain, France, Norway, Holland, and Italy, whose navies and air forces were last week drawn up ready for action in positions in the eastern Mediterranean and bases in the Middle East, including the Royal Air Force's Akrotiri facility in Cyprus. And so Bashar Assad says, lest you want to help the rebels who are trying to overthrow me, I want to remind you of one thing. I have missiles at the ready, and I will not hesitate to fire them in your direction. Debka File refers to this as living for 10 days under the threat of a regional war. This is fascinating to me because the carrier group USS Enterprise is sailing off the Syrian coast right now. And of course, if you know anything about our nuclear aircraft carriers, they always sail with 20 or 30 ships attending them. These would be everything from tenders, cruisers, guided missile cruisers, submarines, all sorts of ships surround a major nuclear aircraft carrier. So what you have off the coast of Syria now is a force primed and ready to resist any aggressive action that would be forwarded by Bashar Assad, and Assad has told Kofi Annan that he will do it. Very interesting indeed. And speaking of the Russians, and you all, I think, all of you who have studied prophecy for any time at all, realize that Russia figures in a very large way in latter-day prophecy. Here from ABC News, a Russian military unit has arrived in Syria, according to Russian news reports. This is a development that a UN Security Council source told ABC News was a bomb, quote unquote, certain to have serious repercussions. So the arrival of the Russian Navy and a number of ground forces, by the way, was labeled, quote unquote, a bomb by ABC News. Well, Russia, of course, is one of Bashar al-Assad's strongest allies. Despite international condemnation of that government's violent crackdown on the country's uprising, and we've been reporting on that now for some weeks, the Russian Black Sea Fleet's Iman tanker has arrived in the Syrian port of Tartus on the Mediterranean Sea with an anti-terror squad from the Russian Marines aboard. The anti-terror squad and other ground forces have debarked in western Syria, and they are headed inland to help the government of Bashar Assad. So not only are the Russians coming, the Russians have arrived at the port of Tartus. And of course, we have read other reports that the Russians are arriving in the northern sectors of Syria, coming from the direction of the Caucasus Range. RIA Novosti, a news outlet with strong ties to the Kremlin, trumpeted the news of this invasion in banner headlines that appeared only in their Arabic language website or Arabic language news outlets in the Middle East. The Russian embassy talked to the United States and the United Nations, saying, in effect, we're not really communicating with you at all. If you want to know about this, read our website. And that and the fact that that the tanker Iman, which is basically not only a tanker but a troop ship, has now docked in Tartus. So we see, again, war in Syria elevated by yet another notch. Day by day, as we report on these events, we make that comment, and behind that comment is the simple fact that you can't continue to escalate a situation forever until something snaps. And of course, what will snap, according to the Bible, is seen in Ezekiel 38, when a war erupts in the Middle East that is so large that it eventually expands to cover the entire world. And Russia is right at the heart of it. Ezekiel 38:3, say, thus saith the Lord, behold, I am against thee, O Gog, chief prince of Meshech and Tubal. And of course, the territories of Meshech and Tubal would encompass what is today referred to as Russia. And the Russians, scripturally, historically, and otherwise, since the time of Peter the Great, have been looking for a way to capture land in the Middle East so that they would have a southern seaport available to them. So they very much have a political angle to play in the Middle East, in addition to helping their good friend Bashar al-Assad. Well, that's what's happening in the Middle East. One more time, just let me say that this coming Tuesday evening, in the sanctuary of Our Lord's Community Church at 7 p.m., that's on the north side of Oklahoma City, New York Times best-selling author Jonathan Cahn, author of The Harbinger, is going to have a question and answer session starting at 7 p.m. Hope to see you there. That could be very interesting indeed, given the global interest shown in this man's book. And of course, he's going to be coming to Prophecy in the News, where we will interview him. And I think this will be quite interesting. Gary Stearman, it's a fascinating age in which we live, so keep looking up.